Hello ladies and gentlemen, what we're doing today is I am showing you the different types of wiring methods that we use in floral design. There's about 5 basic ones that we use that I will be showing you today. And so the first one that I'm going to show you is called the hook method. And so all I'm going to be doing today is taking a half piece of 18 gauge wire. Again, the gauge of the wire is the thickness of it, so the diameter and width of the wire. Okay, so this is the thinnest and most flexible of all the floral wires. Okay, the type of flower that we're going to be working with today is a ranunculus. Ranunculus are very, very beautiful. They have a lot of petals, and as this opens up, it's just going to start opening and opening and opening, and you're just going to see all the petals just unfold and look very beautiful. This has been in the cooler, and so it's kind of closed. But why we would want to use the hook method for this is, say I was going to put this in a floral foam arrangement. Well, if it was standing up by itself, it would need a little bit more support than just using the stem that it has. This head is a little heavy for the stems to support whenever there is not a lot of hydration or a lot of water in the stem. And so if, say like the wedding or wherever we're using this arrangement, it's going to be outside, this flower is going to start drooping because the head is going to start feeling really heavy, and the stem is so hydrated and very vegetative that there's not a lot of support. So what we have to do is basically make an artificial stem using wire in order for it to be more stable and stay in place no matter how hot or dehydrated this flower gets. So what we're first going to do is look at the anatomy of the flower. Underneath here we have the sepals, and the calyx isn't really apparent, you can't really see it, but underneath the sepals, very close to the main stem where the calyx would be, you're going to take the top of your wire and you're going to insert it into the flower, and you're aiming for the center of your ranunculus or your flower. Okay? So you're aiming for that, you're stabbing it through, and then when you have about an inch out of the flower, what you're going to do is you're just going to very carefully bend it where you've developed a hook. Okay? Can you see that? I hope so. Take it out a little further so you can see. And so now I'm going to make sure that this hook is going to go right in the middle of the ranunculus, so it's very stable. I'm going to push it in, and you can kind of see that wire as you look pretty close, just like the top of the curve. But right now that hook has inserted inside of this ranunculus, causing it to be pretty stable and secure. So now we have this wire going down. I'm not going to wrap this wire around by any means, but I am going to allow it to go with the bend, the natural bend and curvature of the stem. Okay? Next, what I'm going to use is my floral tape. And once I can get it started, I'll show you what to do. Okay, so what I first like to do is stretch my first piece, because remember with floral tape, the wax will come out and will start feeling sticky once you stretch it. Start feeling that wax, versus if you don't stretch it, it's just not going to feel sticky at all. Okay, so I'm just stretching my first bit. I'm going to wrap it all the way around, kind of creating a necklace for my ranunculus. And then when I get back to the end of my where my floral tape began, I can now start going in a spiral motion, but still overlapping on itself, and stretching this floral tape where I'm basically binding the wire to the stem oops, binding the wire to the stem so it will not come apart. Notice that my floral tape is not falling off. There's not extra layers that are just like unraveling on it. That my wire is nice and secure to the stem. And so no matter where I put this now, I can even cut this with my shears, insert this into my arrangement, and this guy should stay there in 40 degrees or whatever degrees I want him in, and stay there all night long because of my hook method. Okay, my next method is going to be the stitch method, and I'm going to use a eucalyptus leaf because these guys like to fall down whenever you make boutonnieres. So all I'm going to do, how I do the stitch method, is I'm actually going to look at where this eucalyptus leaf has like a natural bend. Okay, so it starts bending right around here. I'm also going to look for the stem in the middle. It's right here. So that's like the sturdiest part of the leaf. What I'm going to do is about 1/3 up into the leaf, I'm going to poke a hole through the leaf. I'm going to push my wire until it's about halfway through. Okay. Then I'm going to bend my wire, pull it out a little bit more, and I'm going to insert it right next to itself. Okay? Straighten out my wires. And what I want to do is put this loop snug right up in the face or on the face of the leaf. You don't want to rip giant holes in your leaf or else your leaf will rip and fall apart. So this is all we want to see. So this is like the front. Okay? And so this leaf will basically be sturdy enough to be a backdrop for a boutonniere that we'll make in the future. But to make sure that this stem is sturdy, again we're going to use our floral tape and we're going to wrap it around like a necklace. Make sure it all sticks to itself. And I'm going to start rotating it all the way down. Rotating it all the way down. Pull it tight. There you have it. That is our stitch method. So I'm stitching this into the leaf. Okay. Next we have our pierce method, and I'm going to use a little rose for this. So this is a spray rose. It's kind of huge for spray roses, but I'm just taking these dead leaves off. But what's cool about roses is that you can clearly see that they have a calyx. Okay, so it's like that fat part right underneath the stem, right before the sepals, which are these guys. And so, why you would need a pierce method is to make the stem more stable. That's basically what we're doing in all of these wiring techniques, is to make a stem or artificial stem. Okay, so what I'm doing is that I'm taking my wire and I'm piercing it directly through the calyx. This can be kind of challenging for some of you because what could happen is that as your wire is coming through and you pierce it through, or you try to, the calyx can be kind of hard sometimes, and then your wire just goes and like wrinkles up. And well, what you have to do, I'll do it again for you. You have to have your fingers really, really close to the wire's edge, about a 1/2 inch away, and then you push it with a lot of force and it will start going all the way through, like so. You want this to go all the way to the middle of your wire, and then you're going to fold it down. Okay? And remember, we want to hide are mechanics. So the mechanics I mean are the wires. Okay, so I'm going to create that necklace again with my floral tape, and I'm trying to hide all of these wires as best as I can. And so I'm going to wrap it around once, creating that necklace, and now I'm just stretching and wrapping, binding my wires together, pulling it tight. And you can see my wires are hidden. Everything's stuck there, ready to go. So I can now put this in a little corsage, or I can put this in a boutonniere. And what's also cool is like you can manipulate this stem to go wherever you want. And he's gonna look good. Okay, so that was the pierce method. I'm now gonna show you a cross wiring method. It's just like the pierce method, only with a second wire, and it's mostly used for larger flowers like this. Okay, so this is a average size rose. The petals are getting kind of wild, so this is an older rose. So now, oh my gosh, it just got significantly smaller. So now you can see that we have a calyx, and it's quite large. And again, this is the cross wiring technique. So we're going to pierce this just how we did in with the last rose, and we're going to do it all the way through. It's kind of hard with large roses. Sometimes they want to go hook into the rose, and that's kind of annoying, and so you have to take it out and redo it. But this is very important because you would usually do this when creating boutonnieres, and those are the arrangements that would go on the chest of like a man for like a special occasion. Oh, you don't want to bend them down yet. But you want to put the wire all the way in the middle, and you're going to push it down after our next step. And again, it's because we want this stem, this artificial stem, to be very, very sturdy. So what I'm doing is I'm going to create a cross. So I've already pierced one side. What I'm going to do is rotate it and do another cross section pierce method, where when I push it all the way through, so this one's kind of hard. And once your wire bends, you have to like try to make it straight again, or else it won't push all the way through. And then you can even pull it on the other side, and hopefully y'all can see this. So now I've created a cross wiring method, and so the next step would be to fold them down, making a very, very secure artificial stem. Hardest part now is just taping this bad boy, because again, you want to hide all of your wiring insertions up at the top. So I'm pressing up with my thumb, wrapping with my floral wire, and sometimes it gets away from you, so you gotta start again, push it up there, really press on that floral tape so it sticks to itself. I'm stretching with these fingers, and I'm guiding with my thumb where my tape's gonna go, and I'm twisting and rotating with this finger and this hand. Okay? Oops, my hand's in the way. Now I'm twisting and pulling all the way down, and then I'm pulling tight, and voila, you have yourself a nice boutonniere rose ready to be for other things to be added. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is actually, I'm going to go back with our ranunculus here, and I did the hook method before, and we're going to do that hook method again, only I'm going to show you a different technique. It's like the insertion technique, and this is mostly for Gerber daisies. But what you want to do is take your hook, or take your wire, you're going to insert it underneath again, just like the hook method, which was the first method I told you. And I'm poking it all the way through, developing a hook again. This one is a little bit longer, okay? And I'm going to insert it. Sometimes it needs a little help, a little guide, a little push in there. You want it not to go so deep or else it'll rip through your flower, but just so it's hidden. And now, unlike the pierce method, this is the insertion method where we also wrap. So I'm not doing a spiral all the way down. I'm not doing like a tight spiral. What I am doing is just doing a gradual spiral around the stem. As you can see, a gradual spiral all the way down the stem. And we do this if I want a lot of stem to stay exposed, and like as if I have a very tall arrangement that I want to make in foam, and I would like insert this and it would be like really high in the arrangement, and you'd want it to stay there and you wouldn't want it to droop. So I want to use basically the whole length of my stem. So I would need to tape this, starting from the top all the way down. And that's one thing. Again, I'm not making this into a spiral. It's not really tight. See how it's gradual? Like it's a very small rotation. And what's hard about this is that it's kind of time consuming. If you're using like 5 of these flowers that you want to show a lot of stem and be very tall in your arrangement, it's like, oh man, I gotta do a lot of insertion, wiring, and taping. Okay, so yours is probably not gonna go as fast as mine, but it's just because I've done this like a million times, right? So you just have to be patient with yourself. Okay, so again, let's review. We had the hook method. Okay, so we did just like the insertion, only it's straight up against, and this can be as short as possible, as short as you want. We did the stitch method. We did the single pierce method. We did the cross wiring technique method. And then we did the insertion over here. Insertion. Okay. Awesome possum. Thanks, guys.